right, and we're live. Jakob Davis, thank you for being here, man.
Hey, thank you for having me, man.
Yeah.
This is an amazing setup. I walked up to Steel Core and I pass it a lot, but then coming into the office and seeing, the entire setup you've got here, this is impressive.
Man, I appreciate you very much for saying that. We've worked really hard. We've spent a lot of money, a lot of effort trying to get this going.
Right.
I believe in it. I think it can do well.
Yeah, man. It's not an expense; it's an investment.
Yeah. Well, as an entrepreneur, you understand anything we do, we got to take a little risk. Right?
Exactly.
To get a little reward sometimes.
That's why I always say to people, it's stop looking at your purchases if they are for the right reasons. Stop looking at them as an expense or I can't believe I dropped that money. It's an investment. If it's going to improve you or move you forward, it will return.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, that's the only way you can look at it. That's whether you're hiring an employee or you're looking to bring it into inventory or buying a new piece of equipment, whatever it may be.
Right.
If it can make you money.
Yeah.
And
I find myself falling back into that way of thinking sometimes too. It's like, damn, we got to drop, $5-6 to bring in this whole new brand lineup. And I'm like, that's expensive. We don't have a cash flow positive month right now. Like, why am I doing this? But long term, it always pays off.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, just to kind of give a little intro here, you're CEO of the nutrition store.
Yes, sir. 2
locations, right? Greenville, Spartanburg. Opened up in 2018, right?
Yeah, man. You did your homework. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Started up in 2018, single store. Didn't think that we would ever expand beyond, a location or Spartanburg County. I always had the vision of it. But then about 2.5 years ago, we opened up in Greenville on Haywood Road.
Yeah. So how's it going?
It's been a journey, man.
Yeah.
Navigating, there's always hindsight. It's 2020 kind of philosophy of thinking. There's a lot of things I could have done better opening Greenville or not even opening in Greenville altogether. I probably should have stayed within Spartanburg County, but there's a total demographic change of people, comparing from Spartanburg's demographic of our customers to Greenville, and they are polar opposites in how they behave, how they purchase. Just the environment in Greenville is a lot different. So I've had to pivot.
You have built what I would call a cult-like following in Spartanburg. You've done an incredible job branding this business. Super envious of what you were able to do with utilizing, all the social media platforms, the video editing. You've done an excellent job with that.
I appreciate that.
Kudos to you for that.
Thank you.
And it inspired me a little bit. I'm not going to lie.
I appreciate that.
Started doing some videos of myself, of our own, the podcast stuff.
Dude, walking into the studio alone speaks volumes. I mean, you've done your homework, you've done your research, you're executing on this thing. So
appreciate you.
It's awesome, man. Right. I mean, mine was an iPhone 8, and iMovie for the first year and a half before I even actually got my brain together and was like, I might need to invest. And once again, the word invest my time and energy into learning these little skill sets on the side to help improve the branding.
Right. Right. What, you come from a long line of entrepreneurs, right? Or
no,
at least
I'm
dad,
second
right?
generation. Dad was first generation entrepreneur. He stepped out of the whole textile mill, kind of, I guess, snowball that the Davis family had been working in for a long time. Just in basically manufacturing, right? So he worked for Timken for quite a few years, and I think John H. Montgomery was another manufacturing mill out near Gaffney somewhere he worked for, I think. But then he broke away and decided to start his own, machine tool shop.
Were you born yet? Were you around when he started, or was this before?
Yeah. So it was, if I'm not mistaken, it was really close to around the same time that I was born, and he decided to invest in his own lathe, and it was out of our garage. So
So I guess my question is, seeing your father work for himself, did that impact you? That influence you to work for yourself?
As an adult, yes.
Yeah.
As a child and a young teen, no. Right. I resented it. I did not want to have to me seeing my dad come home late and always stressed, and having the downsides of entrepreneurship that is not often glamorized online. Up until my senior year of college, I was so resistant to the idea of ever running my own business because I saw what he went through. Yeah. I wanted to my path was to continue school. I was on a straight line path to get my doctorate and be a professor. So of exercise physiology, that was my path. I already had done my research. done a, basically what do we call it? It's a annotated bibliography for research. So I was already in path to pursue a PhD, and that was like something I love teaching.
Yeah.
Teaching something that I'm passionate about.
Right.
But it wasn't until my senior year of college, and I had a part-time job at a small supplement store in Rock Hill, and also a few influences like podcasts. A lot of people may know Andy Frisella from First Form.
Yeah.
His original podcast, the MFCEO Cast, I listened to all 300 episodes, and it shifted my perspective on what actually running a business really was about. And it wasn't about, well, it's glamorized as making money, hustling, getting the cars and all that. No, it showed me that there is freedom out there if I'm willing to work for it and scale myself for it. And I got a spark of divinity, a spark of inspiration, whatever it may be, to start this thing.
Well, you talked about the teaching. I mean,
that's how I bridge the gap.
You do that.
Yeah. So I started thinking about, the paths that I could choose, right? I loved working at this small part-time supplement store because his values, the owners, were very similar to what I hold today, which is honesty, right?
Okay.
Like brutal honesty, only bringing factual information to the customers, not pushing products or selling them supplements that they don't need, rather showing them the data, the literature, explaining how it could help them. And then, basically teaching people who want to be there. They come into the store for a reason. So teach them because they are actually interested in learning. Whereas you have college students who may or may not have any interest in the information you're presenting them to because they're forced to go through that class. And so I made the decision I could impact a lot more lives by doing what I do now part-time with my own company in my hometown.
Absolutely.
And so I'm able to bridge that gap of teaching people, and I love it.
Yeah, well, I think that's one reason why people are drawn to you. I mean, possibly. To be honest with you, I mean, well, granted, you've got a great brand that you've built, right? But when people come into your store, it's not here's a $50 bottle of whatever.
Right.
Here's why you need to take this, or here's what it can do for you. That's what I like about it. That's why I started coming.
Well, thank you, man.
And that's why we're sitting here.
Yeah.
Right?
No, I appreciate that. Yeah. That's, and I think that, people can smell out who's honest with you. Like it's might be a sixth sense, like where you can tell who's trying to sell you, who's trying to like pull one over on you versus who's being legitimate.
Absolutely.
And I truly believe that the honest path and kind of the path that I try to pass down to all my teammates at the stores, it'll pay off in the long run. It might not make us $1,000 today, but the honesty and the trust that's built between people, our customers,
absolutely,
long term.
Yeah, you're right. What were some of your startup pains? When you said it's 2018, I'm assuming you started planning before 2018.
Yeah. I sat down and bought my first book on business in November of 2017. It was called The Young Entrepreneur's Guide to Running and Starting a Business. Okay. And I still have that textbook today. I probably read 30% of it, because all the information in there made no sense to me. I was a science student, right? Yeah. So like me trying to learn these numbers and margin and accounting, I tried the best I could. I built somewhat of a business plan, but really most of it was flying off the seat of my pants and making the best judgment I could with what I had and the resources I had.
Right.
But yeah. As far as startup pains, starting up the first store really wasn't much pain to it other than getting laughed at a bank when I showed them my business plan. And, they were like, you realize we can't loan you any money. Here's a credit card option, So that was interesting. I kind of knew it would happen because I had no rapport or no credit history with a business.
With a bank.
Right. No, I really starting my first store wasn't really a challenge. Like I was so driven and I had no other obligations. My parents were gracious enough to let me stay with them for a year. That was our contract. Basically, you can stay with us for a year after college while you get this thing off the ground. And so I had no other obligations. I would work 12 to 14, 16 hours a day because I wasn't dating anybody. I wasn't, I didn't have kids or anything, and I still don't. But it was fairly smooth because any problem that I was faced with during that initial first year, I had the resources or the time to solve those problems.
Right. So time's a big deal.
Oh, it is, man. I mean, that's what me expanding and opening the second store, I learned very quickly how spread thin I was becoming between trying to successfully make my presence available in both stores as well as continuing to grow the brand, maintain both stores' operational, standards.
Yeah.
That stretched me. That's where the challenge really started coming in, was the second store. Like, how do I grow this operation but maintain the integrity of this other one with a team that's amazing, but they're not me, right? And so trying to build all that out. That's where a lot of the.
When did the planning for your own brand of supplements come in?
That came in a year and a half after opening the store. And it didn't start out as a supplement brand concept. It was, hey, we're the nutrition store. We're already making videos and stuff, and we kind of have a little bit of a following. What if we made our own products, that we could stand behind, and we say with confidence that, hey, this is our formula. We're proud of it.
Right.
And, I had such low overhead at the time because it was just me and me paying expenses. I didn't really have any employees other than a few that I would, kind of pay under the table to help me out here and there. We just had the cash that was sitting there from profits because I wasn't really paying myself. I didn't have to. So we were able to easily dump that into, making supplements.
Right. So obviously this is the American Built podcast, right? We talk about American brands, American entrepreneurship, specifically manufacturing. So how is manufacturing? So I'm real big on metal manufacturing, right? I can tell you anything you want to know about how to make something out of a piece of steel.
Right.
How does going to a manufacturer to build a supplement that someone's going to put in their body?
Right.
How does that play out? That's got to be tough.
Yeah, it's you really have to vet quite a few different manufacturers. The only manufacturers we'll ever use are American supplement manufacturing facilities. Eventually we'll have our own. That's the goal. We will be doing it.
I like that.
We'll be doing it in front of our customers, like with the glass wall and all that. But
how cool.
You have to really, really question the people that are putting together the product for you about the integrity of the ingredients, where they're sourcing them. Can you get C of A's or certificates of analyses on the batch testing of the ingredients to make sure that they're actually what they say they are? Because as a lot of people know or may not know, the supplement industry is not quote unquote regulated. It's inspected, but it's not government regulated. So there's not really much of a defining standard if a company wants to put ashwagandha root in a product. They can put it on there, but not disclose any of the standardization or the percent of the active ingredients that are in it. They don't have to do that, right? So, but it's up to us to make sure that we're getting a high quality form of ashwagandha. Otherwise, you're just getting dirt.
Right.
So when approaching these manufacturers, you have to request those certificates of analyses, ask about, or I'll look into their history. Luckily, my first one, and still one of the tops in the Southeast of America, we got connected to through another friend of mine who owned a small supplement company that we were carrying his product. So he kind of opened the door for me to make that relationship happen. But essentially, it's a lot more simple than people think when it comes to making your own products. Manufacturing the products, that's a whole different side of it.
Right.
But it comes down to, you have a formula. This is what you want each scoop or each pill to contain in this quantity, and this is how many units you want. And then you have to go and source your graphic designers to make the labeling, make sure they're government compliant, FDA compliant. And then you basically pay for your product.
Do you have to submit your product to like a FDA registered list? Or
so the manufacturing facility itself in America, we need CGMP, current good manufacturing processes, that stamp of approval, and then also an FDA inspected facility. Me, myself, as the supplement, brand owner or the product itself, I don't have to send the product off to any governing body unless I wanted to go pay for the third-party testing, which we plan on doing for certain products down the road. But when it comes to things like a pre-workout or even a nootropic for focus and mental cognition, getting the certificate of analyses from the manufacturer and getting the spectroscopy testing from them, that's essentially testing.
Gotcha.
So there's not much of a requirement on the brand's end. It's up to the integrity of the owner. To make sure that they're doing things the right way.
Well, I think you've done an excellent job so far.
Thank you, man.
I can't wait to see how it continues to grow.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
We just put in for we had to get another 1,000 units of creatine, so I'm working on that today actually.
Wow.
Creatine's just simple. It's one ingredient, so just making sure I can keep that coming. The more products that I can make and I can put my stamp of approval behind. For one, the more I know that my customers are getting quality products, and I can guarantee it because I'm the one sourcing it all. And for two, it helps our company. I mean, just from a numbers perspective, if we're making it, we're cutting out the brand and any possible distribution entity above us.
Right.
So we have more margin to play with. And that doesn't mean more money in my pockets. That means more growth for the company.
Absolutely.
Because I'm hyper aggressive on, reinvesting. So
yeah. Well, that's how that's the only way you can be.
Yeah.
You know, if you're not preparing yourself for the future or looking to grow, if you're not growing, you're backing up. You're backing up, you're dying.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I agree with that. If you're not growing, you're dying, man. So, and the last place and the last state of mind you want to be in as an entrepreneur, and it can happen, is that feeling of being backed into a corner, because that's when you either fight or flight.
That's right.
And a lot of guys just flight.
They do.
They back out.
A lot of people will quit. Yeah. A lot of people will
So
quit.
a lot of the game where, where we see people saying motivational things online, but I heard this one the other day. A lot of success is just determined by how long you're willing to hustle and stay in. Because
or suffer.
Yeah. I mean, because 10 years in, you might still not be making $1.
Yep.
But you've outlasted 80% of other people.
That's right.
Because they got sick of enduring what you're willing to endure.
Absolutely. I'll tell you a little story about us. So, about the early days. So, when we first started our business, my dad and I are partners. We started this together in 2013, and I got married the same year. Okay, so
that's a lot.
Quit my corporate job, started a business, got married, all together, right? So those early days, or those late nights, my dad was pulling that while I was going home to a newly married, wife who needed me to be home, right? So he has definitely laid the groundwork for us and paved the path for us to grow. But we suffered together, we worked together. In those early days, we were so broke, mostly because we were putting every dollar we had back into the business.
Right.
The QT down the street in here has got two hot dogs and a soda for $5.
Oh yeah,
we would share it.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how broke we were.
I get it, man.
Yeah,
I get it.
Now, fortunate enough, we've grown. We've got a great brand. People know us. We've made some impacts in our industry, and get to go and talk to a lot of the business students at some of the area colleges.
Right.
And one of the things I tell them is, like, if you don't believe in your business plan or what you're doing enough to be poor, then it ain't good enough.
Right.
Go back to drawing board.
That's true.
Yeah, because if you can't suffer and be broke and put every dollar you got into your business and see the potential of what you're working towards, you got it wrong.
Yeah.
You got to go back and figure out, how do I make this business plan so perfect that I'm willing to suffer so badly because I believe in it so much.
Yep. And also, too, I mean, obviously I don't speak to a lot of business students or anything like that, but I see a lot of people online. They make the perfect business plan, but they have that stopgap of not ever taking action, like taking that first step.
Right.
And a lot of times I do believe that you just need to jump in.
Yeah.
Like take a leap of faith, man. Start. We can sit and talk, and it goes the same thing for fitness and nutrition. We can talk about the perfect diet. We can develop the perfect workout routine. We can keep critiquing it down until we know the percentages of increase that you're going to see over the next 12 months. But unless you take the action and jump in.
That's right. So that first year, and a lot of our customers know that I personally went through a fitness journey myself. That first year of business, mostly because we couldn't afford to eat correctly. Let's see, I put on about 60 pounds, stress and eating bad, right?
Right.
Okay, it'll do it to you.
Yeah.
In a heartbeat, right?
Of course.
Yeah. So, once we finally got to a point to where it was like, okay, we've got a great team, we've got good inventory, we're making some money. Now I can afford to go to the grocery store and buy chicken, right? Instead of McDonald's.
Right.
You follow me? Right. So that's where you and I met.
Yeah.
Years ago.
Yeah.
Probably when you first opened.
It probably was.
Somewhere in that neighborhood. And but make a long story short, I knew I could come to you and you'd tell me straight, hey, this is what you need, this is going to work. And I trusted what I was taking versus going to wherever and buying something I didn't know what it was going to do to me or if it was going to help me or hurt me. And I attribute a lot of that factual information I was able to get from your company that helped me get to where I'm at now
Well, I
with my
appreciate that,
personal, you know, health journey, so to
Right.
speak.
Right. Well,
You
thank
know?
you. Yeah. I mean, my delivery is not for everybody. You know, I can definitely come off as a bit of an ass to some people with how bluntly honest I am, but I think it's received well by most, and I'm glad it. You know, I'm glad it helped you.
For sure.
But you know, it's funny. You said you could trust the products that you were getting from me because of all the extensive like background checking I do. There was a report from Walmart like a week ago where somebody had bought melatonin, just melatonin. I'm sure you've heard of melatonin, right? It's for sleep. It's a naturally occurring hormone. They gave their kid 3 pills of 3 milligrams, but apparently the dose was not measured from whatever product that was in Walmart, right? And so apparently the child overdosed on melatonin. I'll have to confirm that report,
right?
But it's wild to me that large entities like that, you still can't, you don't know for sure. You can't trust that what they say is in it is the exact amount. So just wild stuff.
That's crazy. I mean,
yeah.
You know, so this podcast is really geared toward obviously the American entrepreneur, but we're really kind of focusing on industry, you know, welding, construction, you know, that kind of stuff. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what a young man or woman and an older gentleman or lady can do in the construction or the manufacturing world, because this is hard on your body. I mean, very, very hard. Some of these jobs, particularly, you know, like iron erecting or even working the production line at, say, BMW right down the street. You know, that's a demanding job, depending on what you're assembling.
Right.
You know, what are some things that people can do to prolong their career? Say they're an older gentleman that's still in the construction world, doesn't have a good retirement. He's got to work, but he's hurting every single day. You know, there's got to be some things that they can do.
Yeah.
Maybe some supplements they can take, some basic exercises they can do to help them with their job.
Of course. I think the common thing that I hear from men in landscaping, construction, machine tool, welding, you name it, is that they get their workout through their job because it's so physically intensive. And I understand that. However, we know through the research, not only on just physiology, but this is neuroscience as well, that exercise is not daily activity. It is planned and executed based on your own willpower and your body's ability to go and do exercise. So when I tell a gentleman in this position that you're referring to that they need to lift weights 3 times a week, I often get resistance because their job, you know, you just can't fathom generating the energy to go and train when you've already been doing these same repetitive movements all day.
Right.
However, the fact that you structure exercise into your lifestyle outside of your job by strengthening your muscles, strengthening your connective tissue, you are also directly strengthening your bone's capacity to resorb and to regrow more effectively and stronger, more calcium density. By strengthening your body, just weight training, right? Your recovery will be faster. Your body will be more resilient to these daily activities that you're doing. If you're just hurting, if your back is killing you, you strengthening the muscles around your core, just as a general statement, you will recover faster. You will not struggle with pain nearly as much because you will be stronger and able to endure. If you were to get injured on the job and you are a physically active and capable being, as in you work out, you take care of yourself, your body will recover 50 to 75% like faster after an injury, right? So that's the number one thing that I say is resistance training of some sort. It doesn't have to be heavy powerlifting. It doesn't have to be bodybuilding. Doing key movements that are, you know, fundamental to the primitive human, I like to say, squatting, overhead pressing, rows, chest press of some kind, you know, flat bench press is not for everybody. Doing deadlifts off the ground. Think about the fundamental movement patterns that are very simple that only require a barbell and a few plates of weights.
Right.
Doing 3 to 5 sets of each exercise for a full body workout 3 times a week will work wonders for your body's ability to recover.
I'm sure.
And on the nutritional side of things, especially if you're over the age of 40, this condition starts to kick in. It's not really a condition, it's just age, but we call it sarcopenia in the exercise physiology world. It's muscle wasting disease, but it happens after you reach a certain age where your body will start to lose a certain percentage of its muscle mass every year.
So at 40,
around that,
around 40, that's when they say you're over the hill, right?
Well, yeah.
So that's when it's really happening, huh? So at 40, we start slowly wasting away.
Exactly. Well, if you waste away a certain percent if you are not actively using it, right? You use it or lose it. Same thing with like what we learned in high school. There's certain classes that we didn't give a crap about. Right. We don't remember any of that junk anymore, right? Because we don't use it, right? Same thing with our muscle tissue. If we are not consistently activating it in those movement patterns and stimulating it, you will lose a certain percentage of muscle mass every single year.
Wow.
So by training, that can help offset that, and also increasing your protein consumption just on a daily basis. It doesn't have to be from a supplement. They help, but by being more cognizant and aware of the nutrition that you're putting in, increase your meat intake, increase your, maybe milk if you're not lactose intolerant, eggs, tuna, salmon, fish. Trying to increase your protein intake exponentially is going to help offset that body's degeneration, right? So, and say that for young people too. Increase your protein intake. You'll recover faster. Your bones will thank you. Your heart will thank you. Your muscles will thank you. Because, working out, taking supplements, it's not all about being a aesthetic bodybuilder. You know, it's not all about showing the sexy muscles and showing what you look like. It is for ability and for your body's ability to constantly improve.
I think when I first started getting back into the whole working out, it was definitely to look good.
Oh, of course.
But now, listen, there's no secret about it. I got a 7-year-old stud. Okay? This boy's bad.
Right.
Okay? He's fast. He's strong. He's athletic. It is to keep that boy in check.
Yeah, exactly, man. Well, I think
that's what I said. What are you working out for? I said, I got to keep my 7-year-old at bay.
That's right.
This boy's coming for me.
At a certain point, I think that every young man starts their workout and fitness journey from a vanity standpoint. You're going through that phase of life. You want to chase women. You want to look good.
Absolutely.
You want to, peacock in front of the other dudes at the bar, whatever it may be.
Still do.
Yeah. Well, there's always a little bit of it in there with us. But at a certain point, you start to understand your own mortality as a young man. I think I'm starting to hit that. Yeah, I'm hitting that at my age, 27, where I realize that I want to keep my body as healthy as I can and stay around as long as I can. Because now I don't, as an entrepreneur, it's not just me serving me anymore. I have employees and mouths to feed and bills to pay and a fiance at home and a dog. I want to be here as long as I can to experience, and I'll take all that in. So being healthy and knowing the steps to do that is ever so more important than having big biceps.
Yeah. Well, we're seeing a trend, at least I'm seeing it in the workplace, where especially people that have the budgets are providing, gyms at their place of business, whether or not their employees use them or not, it's a different story. But I believe that there is a significant benefit to, if you're going to choose this line of work and you're going to be in it for a long time, you've got to prepare your body to be able to do the job.
Yep.
Right. People talk about making money with their hands. Well, the way I see that is they're making money with their legs and their back.
Yep.
Right. Take care of that too. Strengthen that. Keep it strong. Take care of yourself so you can do the job.
Yeah.
And especially when you're 55, 60 years old, working the manufacturing floor or in a construction site. I mean, one wrong move and you're out of work.
Yep. How many people have you talked to that have thrown their back out on the manufacturing line?
Tons.
They turn the wrong way.
Yep.
Dude, these big companies that provide these health amenities, whether it's a gym or even education to their employees, they understand the value not only of maintaining healthy employees for long-term success, but also the mental component that exercise brings to the table, the antidepressant benefits. They found that exercising consistently is 50% more effective than the top leading antidepressant drugs.
Wow.
And this is hand over fist, a fact. It's been studied time and time again.
Yeah.
But yet antidepressants are still prescribed rampantly. Our bodies are meant to move. We're supposed to be physically active. We're happier when we are.
Absolutely.
And these companies know that, and they want to keep their employees happy. I mean, I can't imagine that working a manufacturing job is all that exciting 12 hours a day.
It can't be.
Yeah. So maintaining your mental fortitude and your happiness and stability is more likely to keep you in that job and keep you around longer.
Right.
So it's a benefit to the company too. And
Absolutely.
I think, you're exactly right. These top companies get it.
Yeah.
So,
Well, Jacob, what are some things you want to tell some entrepreneurs out there? You got any advice from your standpoint?
Learn to delegate. Yeah. That's a big one. I struggle with that. I wear many hats, and I'm very efficient. I'm very effective at wearing the many hats, but I'm not the best at any of them because of that.
Right.
Learning to delegate skills down to people who are, or not down, but over to people on your team that you think can successfully do the same thing, if not better than you. Learning time management is key. Those are like very stereotypical things, but understanding that you can only stretch yourself so thin and you can't be in multiple places at once. So that makes delegation ever so more important. And then, tip number 3 would be, in the great words of Shia LaBeouf, just do it.
Just do it.
Right?
Do it right.
Stop overthinking. Yeah. If you know that you can be successful and you have a passion for something, some kind of value that you're bringing to others in your community or online or whatever, stop thinking about what if and take the first step. Just take that step.
That's so big, isn't it?
It is.
Just the first step.
Yeah, that's the one thing that holds so many people back.
Yep.
And then I talk to them in their 40s and 50s and they're like, back in the day, I was about to do this. I almost did that. Like, what held you back? Well, I had this and this, Well, they lived a life of regret that I don't want to ever live personally. And I know that I don't want any other young men and women out there listening to this to have that same kind of regret one day, wishing they would have.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, brother, I appreciate you coming on today.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely.
It's been a blast.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. This episode of the American Build Podcast is brought to you by The Nutrition Store. Hey, health enthusiasts, are you tired of sifting through endless supplement claims? Check out The Nutrition Store today, where science meets supplements. Since 2018, The Nutrition Store's focus isn't on selling, it's on educating you. Dive into honest, science-backed info and choose what truly benefits your body. The Nutrition Store, where your health is more than just a sale. Visit The Nutrition Store today.